In this lesson, we take a look at different special types of quadrilaterals. So one thing to make sure we understand is in this chapter, or in this lesson, all of these shapes are going to be four-sided. So what we did in class is we looked at this investigation, and I had you guys go through and try to come up with definitions on your own. So if you want, you can go ahead and look through this and try to come up with your own definition, and then so pause the video and try to come up with your own definition, just like we have been in class. If not, you can just unpause it and watch the notes and just see the definitions that we have. So in this first set of shapes, we have what are trapezoids. So you have trapezoids on the left and not trapezoids on the right. So the important thing to make sure you know about trapezoids is that it is a quadrilateral, again, has four sides. So a quadrilateral where two opposite sides are parallel. So there are exactly two sides that are parallel, and they are opposite of each other. The other two sides are not parallel. A kite is a quadrilateral with two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. So in class, what I noticed were a lot of people said a quadrilateral with two pairs of congruent sides. But the key is that the congruent sides have to be consecutive. There and there, those sides they share a vertex. So if you look at this, this is not a quadrilateral over here because the congruent sides do not share vertices, so they are not consecutive. So again, a kite, the important thing, the key word there is that the congruent sides are consecutive. Parallelogram is a quadrilateral with two sets of opposite parallel sides. So again, we have to make sure that we are saying that there are two sets of parallel sides, and the sides that are parallel to each other are opposite. A rhombus is a quadrilateral with all congruent sides and two sets of opposite parallel sides. So again, you have two sets of parallel sides that are opposite each other and all sides are congruent. And a rectangle is going to be a quadrilateral with two sets of opposite congruent parallel sides and all four angles are 90 degrees. And a square is a quadrilateral with four congruent sides and opposite parallel sides and all four angles equal 90 degrees. So again, what we come up with are these different definitions of these different types of quadrilaterals. Now, one thing that I mentioned in class is that something that could pop up in your homework or on a quiz or a test is asking whether or not all rhombuses are squares, if all squares are rectangles, and if all rectangles are squares, if all rectangles are rhombuses, different things like that. And so my recommendation is, if I were to ask you, are all squares rhombuses? Okay, so if I were to ask you, are all squares rhombuses, what you'd want to do is look at a square right here, and you'd want to see, does this square meet the criteria to be a rhombus? So is it a quadrilateral? Yes. Is it a quadrilateral where all sides are congruent? Yes, it is. All four sides are congruent. And are there two sets of opposite parallel sides? Opposite sides are parallel. Therefore, yes, a square is a rhombus. So again, if you have this type of question, what you want to do is you want to take a square or take a rectangle or take a rhombus and see, does it meet all the criteria that's listed in each of the definitions? And if it does, then yes, it is. If it doesn't, then no, it's not. Sometimes it might be. Like, for instance, a rectangle sometimes is a square. So just to keep that in mind. We did not do this investigation in class, so don't worry about completing it. The last thing we looked at was an example of the types of problems you'll see on your homework or on a quiz or a test. It's where I describe a quadrilateral to you, and then you need to accurately mark the figure and identify what type of quadrilateral it is. So in this example, it says to make quadrilateral ABCD, where AB is parallel to CD and BC is equal to AD. So again, the first thing I started off with was drawing AB and CD. We know that they are parallel to each other, so I added the little arrows that say that they're parallel. You have to be careful to make sure that you put C and D in the correct location because you need BC and AD. So then you draw AD and BD in. It says that they are equal to each other. Therefore, you should make sure that you have the tick marks that represent that. And then if you think about what type of shape this is, we would have this being a trapezoid based on the definition, where a trapezoid is a quadrilateral where two opposite sides are parallel. So if you looked at all the definitions, you would notice that the only one that this actually meets the criteria for is a trapezoid. So, and we'll actually learn that this is a special type of trapezoid that we just drew in a later lesson. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me or ask them in class, and you may start your homework.